Game 3 of 4 in the Lightning road trip is upon us as they head on to Calgary with Jake Guentzel and Brayden Point on a heater. Will they step up and get the Lightning a win tonight? We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Josh Sperber welcoming you in here to Locked On Lightning and thanking you all for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. And let's get started by talking about the Lightning's next game. Two teams with 14 wins and 10 losses. The only difference in the record, the Flames have played 3 more times than Tampa, and in those 3 games, they lost in overtime. Calgary's 14-10-5, Tampa's 14-10-2. And two teams fighting for a spot in 2 tough divisions going head-to-head. Though this is a matchup that, on paper, it appears like the Lightning lead in every category. Power plays, penalty kill, face-off percentage, goals for and against all favor the Lightning. And even in the last 10 games, Tampa 5-4-1, Calgary 4-4-2. This game, though, in Calgary at Scotiabank Stadium, the Flames at home are 10-3-1. They're one of 3 teams in their division with double-digit wins here, with double-digit wins in their home house, and one of about 6 teams in the league at this point that has double-digit wins at home. The big thing for the Flames, I think, is defense. I think both the Flames and the Lightning are 2 teams that really rely on their offense. That, their defenses aren't bad, but defensive mistakes have been what cost these 2 teams games at a lot of points in this season. So this could be a shootout. I mean, I certainly expect the Lightning to win, but it's not going to be another 2-1 game like they just had against the Oilers. I'm thinking more along the lines of, that Capitals game right before Thanksgiving. Maybe even could get to the point of the Sharks game. I'm not saying Lightning are about to score 8 goals on the Flames, but I'm predicting a 5-4, 6-4 win for Tampa. I think this is going to be a goal fest. These are 2 teams, I think, with strong offensive identities, and I think at the very least, the Lightning can run up the score goal-wise. So we're going to talk about some of the players that I think have helped their offense, especially in the last couple of weeks, namely Jake Guentzel, who's on a 4-game goal streak, and Brayden Point, who was one of the stars of the league in the NHL last week. But the Flames, 2 players that I think you need to watch for them are Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri, 2 of the strongest players on Calgary. Both are tied for the team lead with 9 assists. And they also are the 2 leading goal scorers, with Kadri having 9. Huberdeau, who has 3 goals and 4 assists in his last 5 games, leading the way on the Flames with 10 as their only double-digit point scorer. And this is a Flames team that spreads the puck around quite a bit. Huberdeau is the only player with double-digit goals as they're at this point right now. That is not common when you look at a lot of teams in the league, especially, taking a look at the Lightning when they've got 5 players in double figures, and one of them is unlikely to play because that's Anthony Cirelli. And no updates on his injury or Eric Chernak's injury, so it appears that Steven Santini will remain on the Lightning roster for the time being. Any other updates will be on our X account at LO_Lightning. Feel free to give that a follow as well for more Locked On Lightning updates and content. But back to the game, I think this is a game that the Lightning should win. I think the next two are games that the Lightning should win. You played two of the toughest teams in that Pacific Division, and you split it. Now Edmonton has overtaken Vancouver, with the Oilers taking the victory over Tampa, the Canucks taking the loss. And points were certainly up for grabs in both of these games, especially hearing what some of the Lightning players and what John Cooper had to say following Edmonton's loss. I think all of them kind of view this last game against Edmonton, as somewhat of a missed opportunity. Cooper was not pleased at how the Lightning played. He called it just a bad hockey game. And I mean, in a lot of ways, it was definitely some sloppy play. Lightning allowing too many odd man rushes, fast breaks, breakaways, some one-on-one opportunities, some odd man rushes, everything like that. Lightning allowed that against Edmonton. Calgary might not be as aggressive offensively. They might not have the kind of playmakers that Edmonton does to just pick up the puck and change the game up a little bit. But they still have guys that can move the puck up the ice. They still have players that can score. I don't think that the offensive attack is going to be as aggressive as Edmonton's was, but it's obviously something that the Lightning are going to worry about. They're not going to just take this game lightly because the team is a bit lower on the standings. Just because there's no Leon Draisaitl's or Connor McDavid's to take over a game doesn't mean that it can't happen. So I don't think the Lightning are going to play lightly on the Flames. I really think that they're going to slam their foot on the gas early. They felt that they could have beaten Edmonton. There were points up for grabs against a team that could be the last team standing in the Western Conference. They were last year. And the Lightning had a chance to grab some points in a day where at home, the Oilers weren't their best. And Edmonton has been solid at home this season. 8-6-1 in the friendly combine finds their home park, and they've won the last 3 games as well. Calgary has not been as hot, and they're still kind of on the outside looking in, still a team that's kind of building up their level and their roster to try and get at a higher level, like, maybe 2004 when they lost to the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals. But this is, it's kind of an up and coming team. There's some younger guys on that team that are trying to make a name for themselves, to put the Flames back on the map. And it would be a big win for them if they could overtake the Lightning. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just think the Lightning, coming off of losses, particularly bad losses like they had against Edmonton. I mean, you look back at that week off in November. On one end of it, you have a 2-1 shootout loss to the Flyers, a game that you really felt that the Lightning, could have and probably should have been in. They come back after the week off and dominate the Jets, win 4-1. The game that I like to call the Charlie Lindgren game against the Washington Capitals, day before Thanksgiving. Lightning get a late lead on a Brayden Point hat trick that was passed into the net by Capitals goalie Charlie Lindgren. Matter of minutes later, Washington is taking the lead and the game in a 5-4 heartbreaker at Amalie Arena. The Lightning are on the road the next game in Nashville. They come out with a 3-2 overtime win. Pointer gets the winner over Steven Stamkos, and that is that. And those are 2 examples of games where the Lightning rebounded after dropping a game where they probably think they should have won. And I think that's the case against Edmonton. So I expect a big game coming from Tampa. I expect the Lightning to put up a lot of goals against this Flames team. I expect them to win. And I just expect them to be better than they were defensively against Edmonton. Not a lot of shots were taken in that last game. I think these are 2 teams that are going to try and light up the scoreboard. I think the Lightning are going to take this by a goal or 2. They'll get 5 goals at least. The Flames, I don't think will get more than 3. So I'm gonna go with a 5-3 Lightning win over Calgary. And if you guys have a similar scoreline or just want to get in on some of the predicting fun, make sure to light us up in the comments. Come at us on Twitter, LO_Lightning, with your game predictions as well. And part of the reason I think the Lightning are poised to put up a lot of goals in Calgary, two of the hottest players in the NHL. 4 straight games, the goal for Jake Guentzel, and a couple of multi-assist games since Brayden Point has come back from injury. We'll take a look at some of the Lightning's offensive stars when we return. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. And you can support our show by saying you heard about Indeed here on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, so never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Josh Sperber back with you here, and we're going to focus on 2 particular Lightning players, Brayden Point and Jake Guentzel, in this segment. Why? Because, frankly, they have been on one in the last couple of games. Brayden Point, in his last 5 games, 3 goals and 10 assists, and that starts in Nashville, where he had a game winner against the Predators in his first game back from injury. He had 4 assists against the Sharks at home, combined for all 4 goals, with 2 goals and 2 apples against Vancouver and an assist against Edmonton. And with Brayden Point, it's really the passing numbers that have impressed me. I mean, not saying that Point is anything but just a solid all-around offensive player, including his passing. But, I mean, I look at Brayden Point, regardless of the fact that he has 301 assists compared to 282 goals over his first 600-plus career games in the NHL. But especially recently, Point has just become a trigger man for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not saying he's a selfish player or anything like that, but his primary objective out on the ice is to score goals. You've got your Nikita Kucherovs and Jake Guentzels, who we're going to talk about a little bit, to I think, help set up the plays, but it's usually Point who's in a place close to the net that he can pick up rebounds and put them in. He does that better than I think anyone. I don't think there's a better player in the NHL at picking up loose pucks and putting them in the net in close quarters than Brayden Point is. And I mean, that's why I think his assists is 7 over the last 5, his 4 against San Jose. I mean, that's why I wanted to highlight this. I mean, his passing has just been so strong in the last couple of games. And I think a scoring-minded player like Brayden Point can really benefit from a run of games like this, where passing turns into his main focus, where that becomes his primary offensive objective. And I mean, a lot of it is just him being put in situations to pass. I mean, that was certainly the case against San Jose, Point was getting the pucks early on in the Lightning's offensive zone, and he just quickly shuffled it down the line, and Lightning shots were going in. They had a lot of loose pucks that ended up in the net against San Jose, and Brayden Point was a big part of that. And he did that, similarly against Edmonton and Vancouver. And his kind of passing resurgence, I think, can only help the Lightning, because his goal scoring talent, that's not something that if you don't use it, you'll lose it. He is always going to be an elite goal scorer, is Brayden Point. And that is obviously going to be a huge benefit for the Lightning. You need a guy who you can just always count on to put the puck in the net. And the Lightning do have plenty of guys like that, but honestly, Brayden Point might just be their most reliable goal scorer. He does currently lead the Lightning team with 18 goals, and he's up there in the league. Sam Reinhart and Leon Draisaitl have 19 and 20 goals respectively, but you look at Brayden Point, he's third in the league. Mikko Rantanen and Kirill Kaprizov are tied at third, and Kaprizov is currently the favorite by many for the Hart Trophy. That might not change, but that puts Brayden Point in line for Rocket Richard maybe, and it's certainly a threat. Brayden Point is coming off of his last two seasons. He has scored his two highest goal numbers, 51 in 2022 and one fewer game last year. He scored 46. Right now, he's on pace to beat that. I think he absolutely can. But getting him involved assist-wise is certainly a good thing as well. The more ways Brayden Point can get involved in the Lightning offense, I think the better for Tampa Bay. And the same can absolutely be said about Jake Guentzel, who has proven to be probably the best move of the offseason. Not just for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think the argument can be made that in all of the NHL, Jake Guentzel was the most impactful offseason move. 13 goals, 13 assists in 26 games. Currently, Guentzel sits fourth, right behind Point in points for the Tampa Bay Lightning. 5 power play goals, that's second on the team for Guentzel, and a margin of +6 as well. And Guentzel has been absolutely outstanding. He's been starting to get up on the score sheet more and more. He's really learning his role. He's really becoming comfortable with the Lightning players, with that Lightning system, and it's good. You don't want to. He played with the Penguins for most of his career. In 2024, he played on 3 different teams, including this year with the Lightning. So it's nice to get him kind of settled with an organization again. And again, he's really picking up on the chemistry. He's really becoming a key part of this Tampa Bay Lightning offense. And just in every facet of the game, I think he's been great, offensively especially. And that's what you expect from a player like Guentzel. Goals in each of the last 4, and he's got 5 points in the last 4 games. And, he comes up with some clutch goals as well. A big goal against Edmonton, a tip-in against Vancouver that ended up as the winner on the power play. I mean, he has been another one of those players that if the Lightning needs something, it's usually Guentzel who is on one end of it. Kucherov, Point, they help too. And that's part of that dominant forward line, which I will say time and time again. There is no individual NHL line better than the line of Jake Guentzel, Brayden Point, and Nikita Kucherov going left to right. I think it's been one of the most productive lines in the league, and just the talent there is easy to match. I mean, you have one of the best players in 3 different countries on that line right now, in Kucherov, in Point, in Guentzel. A lot of talent, and it's one of the reasons Guentzel's been having such a great start, and I think it's a reason that Brayden Point is on the way towards some potentially career numbers. It really is looking like that he's going to beat his career high of 51 goals set in 2023. But we'll look at some other numbers as we take a look at some NHL Award Watch, as there certainly will be some Lightning players, I think, getting some hardware at the end of the season. We'll talk about who in our next segment. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any other of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easier to get in on the action. Here's why you need to get started today. You can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. No need to win. The $50 is guaranteed. And Prize Picks also offers fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where select player projections are discounted up to 25%. And you can customize your picks. If you think Jay Guentzel, Brayden Point are going to get a couple of goals in tonight's game against Calgary, all you need to do is just make those picks. It's so simple to make these picks and have fun with friends and potentially catching out fast if you make the right pick. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup when you use the code LOCKEDONNHL on the Prize Picks app today. Prize Picks, run your game. And we are going to take a look at some of the NHL Awards watch. There are some awards that are all but decided in a lot of ways. Right now, you've got front runners, massive front runners, I think, in the Vezina race and in the Hart Trophy race, with Kirill Kaprizov leading the Minnesota Wild and Connor Hellebuyck as one of the top goalies. Kel McCarr looks like he's going to run away with top defensemen. It seems like it's a two-man race for the Calder Trophy between Matvei Michkov and Macklin Celebrini. But where do the Tampa Bay Lightning fit in? I'm going to start with the Vezina because that was one where at the beginning of the season, I had tabbed Andrei Vasilevsky as a guy who could be a Vezina winner. Now, I think it's still a possibility, but I just don't think Vasilevsky has been as consistent as he usually is. And that might take him out of the race for Vezina. I don't think you're going to be able to say until April that Vasilevsky is ever officially out of the Vezina race because we've all seen Vazzy at his best. Fastest goalie ever to 300 wins. No one can take that away from him. But big moments don't win you awards. And he's been solid this season for Tampa. Goals allowed average of .238, 12-9-1, 2 shutouts, save percentage over 900. He's a top 15 goalie in the league in most categories. But, Vezina Trophy means you have to have a truly elite season. And Vasilevsky is an elite goaltender. I don't think there is anything that anybody can say to change my opinion about that or frankly change what I think is a fact. Vazzy has been one of the best goaltenders in hockey since he laced up the skates for the Lightning first 10 years ago. He's been great this season. He just has not been Vezina great. And again, he's not out of the race for the Vezina Trophy. It's a longer road to that. ESPN has also tabbed Anthony Cirelli as a potential finalist for the Selke Trophy. It's a trophy that has gone to centers almost exclusively. Jari Lehtinen, the last non-center to win the award back in 2003. The Lightning, though, have another player that I think might be on the watch list for that. And I think Anthony Cirelli is certainly a player who can win that Selke Trophy. He has shown time and time again the important role that he plays in the Lightning's defense in even strength and in penalty kill as well. You got to look at Brandon Hagel for the Selke Trophy as well, because defensively, Hagel has been almost as good as Anthony Cirelli has. I think the penalty minutes have certainly been more favorable for Cirelli, but Cirelli is a guy who I think can be up for a lot of awards. I mean, if they did a most improved player in the NHL, I think Cirelli could be starting to get there. He has really established himself as one of the top two-way forwards in the NHL. And I think that the Selke Trophy is certainly an option for him. He's been that good on the penalty kill, especially. And I think those stats, when you have when you're down a man, you have to defend even better. And I feel like Cirelli has been at his best defensively on the penalty kill for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think him getting the Frank Selke Trophy is certainly a possibility this season. And, you got to think that he's one of the top guys in the running for it. And that is less the case for the Calder Trophy for Connor Geekie. Calder Trophy. Macklin Celebrini and Matvei Michkov, I think, are the two guys that are really going to take it. Logan Stankoven had a good start to the season. He was on that watch list at the beginning of the year for Dallas. His game has dropped off after November. That seemed less likely. But the Calder Trophy race might be dominated by Michkov and Celebrini, and I think that's fair. I think they have certainly been the two best rookies this season, and they're on teams that aren't that good, and they are winning some games for their team. Celebrini's averaging almost a point a game for San Jose, and Michkov has been so solid for Philly. But I think by the end of the season, I don't think Geekie's going to end up being a finalist. I think he's getting a lot more minutes than many rookies, so there's certainly a possibility for that. He might not be a finalist, but I think he's someone that you have to, by the end of the season, there's going to be no doubt that he's going to at least be on the ballot for the Calder Trophy, because, the numbers don't jump off the page for Geekie right now. 4 goals, 4 assists, but, he's still getting consistent line time, and he's still an important part of this Lightning team at this early juncture of the season. So he's getting the minutes. So I think, the goals, the assists, the points will come for Geekie. I don't see any other way. He might not get onto the Calder Trophy podium, but I think he'll certainly be someone who can be considered for that. Norris Trophy, I think, is another one that is pretty much locked up. Kirill Kaprizov looks like a lock for the Hart Trophy, but Nikita Kucherov is still given 10-1 odds for that. And again, he's not a guy that you can take out for any of these. Art Ross Trophy, Hart Trophy. I mean, Kucherov is talented enough that he just always has the potential to turn it up to 100 and, pull out runs of dominant games. And he could still do it. It might not be right now, but it's always a possibility with Kucherov. So he can go on runs and overtake that points lead. It's always a possibility for him. So I think for Kuch, the way Kaprizov is playing this year, I think the Art Ross Trophy might be more likely than the Hart Trophy. Right now, Kucherov is tied for 7th in the league in points with 38, 8 behind the leader, Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. But it's certainly going to be more of an uphill battle for Kuch to get one of those awards than it has in the last couple of years. Nothing to do with Kucherov. He's still having a great season. Just Kaprizov is carrying the Wild right now. And the Rocket Richard Trophy is certainly someone that the Lightning have a contender for as well, and that's Brayden Point. We talked about this in the last segment. Point currently with 18 goals, tied for 3rd in the league with Kaprizov and Mikko Rantanen, behind just Sam Reinhart and Leon Draisaitl. 2 goals behind him, and Point is an elite goal scorer. Power play goals, especially where he leads the league right now, by the way. It's hard to stop Point from scoring goals. So I think he can I think he's going to top 50 goals this season. And whether or not there's going to be more than one player who does that, we'll find out. But you've got some contenders for NHL awards. Right now, if you look at these awards, I honestly think that Brayden Point for the Rocket Richard Trophy and Anthony Cirelli for the Frank Selke are the 2 best bets if you're going to be a betting man for the Tampa Bay Lightning getting some awards. Outside looking in, I want to keep pumping up Connor Geekie for the Calder. Definitely outside looking in there for sure. And I think that's the case for Kucherov on the Hart Trophy and maybe even the Art Ross Trophy. But I think Kuch getting that is always a pretty solid bet as well. We'll see if he makes a run towards more points against the Calgary Flames when the Lightning drop the puck against Calgary at 9. And until then, that's going to do it for Locked On Lightning. Josh Sperber, thanking all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure to find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steele and Flynn. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube or both, make sure to give us a like, a follow, and a subscribe. Josh Sperber again signing off here on Locked On Lightning, and go Bulls. Have a great Thursday, everybody.